This channel is supported by Truefire. Truefire is an online library
enough, you can get the Truefire All Access Pass for as cheap as they ever do it, the $99 thing. So just jump and do that if you're looking for the best price you can get Truefire All Access for.
Okay, so I had a few of you guys, whether it was in DMs, email, or Patreon, I can't remember exactly, but I've had it in a few different places, ask me to check out the Fender ToneMaster Pro. So I asked them if they would send me one to check out, just on the spur of the thing, because, you know, some people send me some gear to check out. In the past, I bought a Fender ToneMaster Pro. I did sell it, but things have kind of changed kind of considerably from that point. And one of the major things that made me kind of sit down and kind of think about this a bit harder was that Eric Johnson's actually been using one live. You see it'll be next to his actual pedal board. I think that's really quite cool. Probably we'll delve into that a little bit further at some other stage, but in this video I wanted to show you some of the what I think are standout bits and pieces from the Fender ToneMaster. One first thing that I wanted to show you was that if you're looping, loop volume up, loop volume down. Now this is just one tiny thing that to me, you see it over here, you'll see the loop volume going up and down. It's just a really clever idea. And one of the things that happens for me so often when I'm looping is that I'll find actually the initial loop is kind of a little bit loud, and when I start to build stuff up, to just have that there, loop volume up, loop volume down. It's so simple, but simple, clever, and really useful. Now, another thing that wasn't there when I had a ToneMaster Pro was tone control app, Pro Control. Pro Control is what it's called. It's a little bit difficult to find on your computer unless you know exactly what you're looking for, because it's called Pro Control and doesn't have Fender in the name or Tone Master. Not the most straightforward thing. But anyway, one thing I would say is that if you get one of these new, but basically you need the firmware and the Pro Control app to be exactly the same version. So make sure that you update this first to be the same version as the latest Pro Control is kind of my tip on that. Updating it is relatively straightforward. You hold in this button and it puts it into USB mode. Then you drag the file onto that USB, and then basically this takes care of it. So that's kind of cool to have that handled. Anyway, yeah, let's jump into Pro Control. So one of the coolest things that wasn't there when I had my Tone Master Pro is this Pro Control, which is actually, I think, quite a useful tool. You've got access to basically all of the key stuff. Default preset foot switch color, default foot switch assign color, all that sort of stuff. EQ, mixer, this is really useful actually. So you can actually see what level you're playing at. Now I found some bits and pieces again that weren't new in the unit for me. So that was all with the capo on. I like that there's the ability to run it in high or low resolution. But it's a pretty good one as well, which that wasn't there when I first got it. So that's, I think, in a pinch, that could be a useful tool. And if nothing else, the other thing you could do with it is use it as an effect in this kind of way. Now, the other cool thing for me, let's get rid of that. I did mention this in a video the other day. In your amp block itself, you've got basically all the things you need. So this is the first modeling device to do this, I think. So we've got vibrato and reverb. See how it sounds cranked up. This is the one area that may be the Tone Master. And that's driving the reverb like it would on the real amp. That's kind of cool as well. some bits and pieces there that are quite cool. I did find this other thing, so if I just jump off of this preset a second, of course, jumping between presets and having trail is really, really what the Fender Tone Master contributed to the modelling space overall. Yes, there's this little granular delay. Some fairly out there kind of effects in here. So if we go, you know, check out that, that's the Granular Arpeggiator. Some certain settings on it, but there's lots of different bits and pieces that are like this Enigma filter. You know, things like that. There's micro shifters, filter on. EQs, sustains, compressors. The thing is that if you're running the amp in this way, like you've got it all in the amp, a lot of the kind of juice is taken up with that. Lots of reverbs. There's glooper, polyhedron, pitch delay. The sustainers are cool. I showed that in the video the other day. Some decent reverbs. I would say the digital delays I don't love the sound of. And the other thing to note is that the delays are not transparent. So they will change your tone. And that's by design. But for instance, if we just replace this with... So that's a transparent one. Here that actually darkened up the dry tone too. That brightens it up. Then same happens with like the tape echo. Like it's actually changing your tone. So that's like the device itself would, but it's worth knowing that that is a feature, not a bug. Now, I also thought it was worth noting that there are some really cool drive effects in here. For instance, let's see this one here, the Dude Abides. But I've got some other cool ones on here. So yeah, there's some bits here that aren't on really any other modelers. So of course the Aurora delay is in fractal as well. So that's based on the Keeley Halo. So I've got a Bluesbreaker there. Then they've got a TS10. I think this is the only device that has a TS10. So you've got those two. Tube overdrive, obviously many things have this, but I think this one actually sounds surprising. One of those things where it's like not quite tube, as in not quite an overdrive, not quite a fuzz. Much like the real pedal. Before I go further here, I should maybe check out the fuzz. Yeah, so that's really quite cool. And then obviously the other thing going on that nothing else has at the moment is J-Rocket the Duke. Now, one of the things I've also noticed here is that I'm not having to really go into the cab block and change things. Whereas typically, I think if I was doing something like this, it might not be uncommon to go in here and add a high cut. So there's something going on where, like, some of these tones, if you use it in this way, like sort of stacking pedals, it actually stays pretty. Not too fizzy, even without the high cut. So that's quite impressive to me. Not everything is like that in the world. So that is one of the real key things that I would say. It doesn't have that sort of problematic high end so much as some other. Some other devices, you know, might in some cases end up being a bit fizzy. This doesn't, which is interesting to me because, yeah, I don't remember it being like that when I first had it, but... Wait, so let's just get into the output. So yeah, cool. Let me save that one. I think that's what I want. This is what I'll be using in the intro, but those are some really cool things about it. I don't know what happens if I put the looper on. So that's, you're not going to show it here, but there's a really cool feature on the looper, so you can use these buttons to turn the loop volume up or down. Which is quite cool, really. I think those for me are some of the coolest things about the ToneMaster Pro right now. Not saying it's a perfect device in some ways, but there are some things that weren't in here at launch, which are in here now, which I'm actually, you know, having quite a lot more enjoyment of the device than I was at launch. So, in particular, I think it does the cleaner tone. Really quite well. If there is, you know, a gap here, I think there's a gap in sort of boutique amps, and you know, I guess it's just a gap in quite a bit of like heavier style amplifiers. What is in here, you know, Friedman and stuff like that, is kind of what it is. But, you know, one of the things with it is that you can quite quickly pull up a sound and get going. Yeah, I would say the heavier tones. Quite a lot of thump to that. Yeah, I think there's some real cool stuff in here at this point, which you'd hope, but you know, I think we've got noise gates on here, noise gate off. Yeah, the one key thing that I would love to see change is that on the foot switch side of things, this is a little thing, but instead of it being automatically whatever your default is, so that it all end up being the same, I would like that either categorized or automatically choose an LED which is coloured like the actual model itself. So you don't have to copy the Helix necessarily, but to do something so that you're not having to go in on every single foot switch and change the colour is just a small thing that I'd like. Anyway, let me know your thoughts in the comments. Cheers for stopping by.